Yo, we back. Sideline Story Podcast. We back with a buy or sell edition, Sideline Story edition. We got like a small list of players. We're gonna talk about their stock for next season. Would you buy or sell it? So, Corey, we're gonna start off buy or sell Jimmy Butler. Now, with Jimmy, I feel like he's on the decline, 34 years old. Even though I respect Jimmy Buckets, amazing NBA player, one of the better two-way players that we'll see that we've grown accustomed to watching over the past few years. But it's kind of like he is on like the decline. And I feel like him having these historical playoff moments, I feel like that's kind of what we'll remember him being like in a Heat uniform going on these crazy playoff runs, whether you want to call it overachieving or whatever. But I kind of feel like these next few years are kind of be like that's kind of what it is at this point. You buying or selling Jimmy for maybe one more year?
I'm
Two.
buying for sure buying because Jimmy is just one of those guys. Like he's just a dog at the end of the day. He's a winner. He's gonna any team he gets put on, you're gonna automatically your stock is gonna rise. Like you're gonna become more of a winner. He brings a mentality. He brings a toughness. As far as availability, he's gonna do a little bit of load management, so he might not play 75 games a season, but you're gonna get a good 60 to 65 games out of him, and depending on the situation, he can be the difference between like a contender and a champion. So I'm definitely buying Jimmy Butler. I'm interested to see what situation he ends up in. I don't think Miami is really the best spot for him no more, especially at this point in his career, like you said, being a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what the market is for him, who tries to trade for him, and where he ends up. Because, like I said, he's gonna be the difference between championship or bust. Like he can really go in and like make a difference just like that instantly.
Yeah, I want to buy it. I really do. But the thing is, it's kind of what you said. It depends on situation. I feel like situation is going to be like very vital in like the next coming years in his career. Whether that be with the Clippers, I don't know if Philly would be a possibility anymore. To be honest, it may be Miami. He may just stay where he is. But I don't really know what him and Pat Riley's relationship is at this point. Um, I'm gonna
Even
buy
there, even there, Miami is still a much better team with him than without him. I'll say that.
very facts. Because not for nothing, I feel like him, Terry Rozier, Jaime Jaquez, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Martin. You still feel like they have some sort of a good core in place still, and one of the best, probably a top three head coach in the game right now, with Eric Spoelstra.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like with that situation, we want to see what a healthy situation looks like going into like a full season. What you would hope, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Tyler Hero, they could make like more significant leaps in the game, and they do have Scary Terry, who I love his game personally. I feel like he fits Heat culture. I would love to see if they was to run the squad back with some. Who did they draft?
The Heat, shoot, I ain't gonna lie, I don't remember who they drafted. I can pull it
I'm
up real
sorry,
quick.
y'all.
I don't remember who they drafted.
Lackluster draft. I ain't gonna lie. Like,
Yeah,
everybody's comp was role players from what I was watching. I ain't gonna lie. I really wasn't.
let's see. They drafted I don't even see it. Oh, Khalil Ware, 15th overall
That's
pick.
right. Khalil Ware 15
Yeah.
years ago. That's right.
So I mean, will he help first year in? I don't know. I just think that team, like you said, their core roster is like, to me, I feel like they kind of caught lightning in a bottle that season, and I think
2022, right? No, 2023.
well, the one season they went to the finals and lost to the Lakers, but then like yeah, the 2023 season
Yeah.
I feel like they caught lightning in the bottle and they went up 3-0 on us, and then they ended up winning the seven. But I just think nobody else has really progressed. Like Bam, I feel like it's been a lot of the same player. Tyler Hero, he's had a couple injuries and he seemed like he's kind of plateaued. Martin, adding Rozier was a nice pickup for sure, but the rest of that roster, I don't know what you do with it. Spoelstra is a great coach, so if anybody can figure it out, it'll be him. But I think a move has got to be made, and you got to get somebody else in there, and it might be at the expense of shipping Jimmy out.
They need some high end talent at this point. I don't know what moves are there for them to make. Um, One thing about Pat Riley is though, he ain't afraid to ship nobody in. He's not afraid to say that he's trying to acquire high end talent, which is what you want as a fan base. But I feel like right now, Pat Riley, it's all about championships with him. That's all he knows. That's his DNA. That's his bread and butter is winning championships. But I'm buying Jimmy for another year at least. We'll have to see what happens.
Mm.
Next player, LaMelo Ball. Now, LaMelo's still very young, but I feel like you kind of want to get ahead of some things for like a narrative starts to set in. Because let me ask you this: is LaMelo Ball untouchable?
No. You talking about if I was the Hornets, would
If
I
you
consider him untouchable?
if you were ownership, general managing, or front office in the Charlotte Hornets, do you consider LaMelo untouchable?
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't consider him untouchable. I don't think you could, especially the state of your team right now. I get it. You got what's the buddy named
Brandon Miller,
Brandon Miller, who look like they could maybe be some type of duo, but
he may be
even
the only untouchable.
even still, like that roster is not competing no time soon. Like you probably losing Miles Bridges, and you really got nobody else notable on that roster to really help you get to where you want to be at. So he's definitely not untouchable, like, and his right now it's probably going to be the peak of his value as far as like what you can get if you were able to trade him. So if I'm the franchise, there's no way I could consider him untouchable because you're not even with him. Your ceiling is like maybe play in. You know what I mean? Which is
Maybe,
not a good. It's not a good
maybe.
ceiling to have. So there's no way you can consider him untouchable unless you just dead set on being, that being your ceiling and not really competing.
So, okay, the thing with LaMelo is it's not a talent issue. It's an availability issue because games played. His rookie year it was 51 games. His sophomore year was the most games he's ever played, which is 75. Now years 3 and 4 is where we have a problem. It's 36 games, and last year was 22 games. So technically, it's getting worse. You know what I'm saying? But on the floor, he's a great free throw shooter, like 86% from the free throw line. He's averaging 24 points, 8 assists. He's shooting 35% from three off 9 attempts. So he's not gun shy, but the percentage is just not adding up. But I feel like with him signing a brand new deal, he got max money. I feel like in year 5 is kind of where you want to start see some leadership qualities. I'm not. Of course, I'm not throwing a day in and day out of the Charlotte Hornets process, but I would see if you're a cornerstone franchise and they view you as one, they drafted you as one, they paid you as one. It's time for you to start showing those types of traits. Being more vocal. Like it's something with him. We've all been watching LaMelo since he was like very young. So it's like it's always some type of goofiness, like lackadaisical, like what I'm saying? Like, but he's super talented though. I love LaMelo. I love watching LaMelo play.
Like the way I would have it, like for my barometer would be like, let's say he played 82 games in the season. Like,
Right.
what do you think is like the best case scenario for that team? Even if he played every game and he was at the top of his game, I still with that roster, I still don't see it like, yes, exactly. It's like playing. So it's like you either need to bring somebody else in to help him out because Brandon Miller is gonna be good and LaMelo is good, but you gotta have somebody else on your roster because you're not getting anywhere with that, or you ship him out because right now you just kind of stuck. And I don't know who they brought in for the draft. I can't remember, but
was it Donovan Clingan? Did they drop Donovan Clingan?
no, that was what's it called? They got Clingan. It wasn't the Hornets. It was Portland.
Portland
got him. Yeah.
Portland got Donovan Clingan.
So you gotta like if you're not drafting like which obviously the draft just happened, so we don't know who's gonna be what in the league. But if you're not getting a piece that's gonna just instantly like kind of shoot you up the ladder, then I think at this point with LaMelo, you gotta be able to entertain. Okay, well, what can we possibly get for him? Whether it be draft capital on a player or just whatever, because his stock is going to be high. Even with the injuries, his stock is going to be high because a team that wants to compete, you could use a LaMelo. Like right now, if you're the Golden State Warriors, you kicking and wishing you would have drafted LaMelo over Wiseman. You know what I mean? Like you wishing you had that guy right now. So a lot of teams would be in the running for LaMelo Ball. So I think LaMelo Ball as a player, you have to buy on him because I think he is that much of a difference maker, depending on where he's at. But as just for the Hornets, I would be selling on him.
If you were the Hornets,
if I was the Hornets, I would sell on him. Yeah, it's tough, but he'd have to be gone.
As me, and if I was the Hornets, I would have to buy only because like now you got all these financial investments. Now it's a big financial investment in LaMelo Ball, and as a player going into my 5th season, at some point you got to really have an internal sit down with yourself. Like you got to look in the mirror. Okay, it's time to start like changing the trajectory on where this team is going. We got my running mate in Brandon Miller. I think his name is, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but I know his last name is Saloon. What I'm hearing is like, it was kind of a reach at pick number 6. But I think, like what I said before, though, it's just time for him to start, like, changing the trajectory with him and like Brandon Miller. It's time to start turning some things around. Because if we really be honest, this franchise has underachieved for the better part of my life. If we really be honest, I haven't really seen anything dominant from the Charlotte Hornets. Anything dope I think of in Charlotte was like Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Muggsy
Yeah,
Bogues, Dell Curry. Like I don't Baron Davis. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anything great. Charlotte.
Kemba had a slight run, but it never amounted to nothing.
Kemba, Al Jefferson. But the problem was Miami was it was the big three. They was but
Yeah,
so we slightly buying LaMelo. Next go Giannis and Dame.
I
You
think for that one it has to. Oh, you want to go? Or you want me to go first?
go ahead. You got it.
I think that one has to be an automatic buy. Like I think because we didn't really get to see what they could really do. Like obviously they both had their injuries. Giannis, unfortunately, in the playoffs, he the second straight year he kind of had an injury. Dame, it's his first season with a team, so you don't really get a chance to get your feet in the water and see what it's like. And then obviously when your running mate is missing, it's a little different. So we didn't get to see like Dame time and Giannis in the playoffs because we both seen them in playoffs. They both when they on that stage, they shine bright. So I would have loved to see that to see what their potential could have been. But I think for that duo, you have to buy in on it. I think Middleton may end up being an odd man out. His contract is a little much. I don't think he's really. I mean, I shouldn't say what a man is worth, but I don't think he's worth that much money. And so it kind of is what it is. But the Bucks, their whole season was just kind of wonky from firing Adrian Griffin to hiring Doc when they had like a 30-13 record or something they had a good record and then
That was crazy, bro.
injuries. It's just it's a weird season for them. Brook Lopez is still there. We'll see what they do with him. But I think as far as Dame and Giannis, I think you got to buy in on. We got to see what they can do before we move on from them. Even though Dame is 34 now, something like that, 33, 34. We got to see what
Yeah,
they can do.
I think I'm on agreement with you. It's an automatic buy because one thing about Giannis and Dame, I feel like the killer instinct is inside of both of them. And Giannis, we definitely know for sure, and Dame, he has capabilities to where it's like, dang, like he shoot like Steph sometimes. Like it just he could just get that hot. So it's like even Doc Rivers, even though he probably shouldn't have said it, he was saying that Dame was kind of out of shape. In the offseason, he kind of came in kind of out of shape. I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I like that statement, especially since that's your head
Yeah.
coach. But I definitely believe it though. This season, Dame had flashes. Maybe like I heard somebody had a joke he was good once a week, some crazy like that. But other than that, though, like when Giannis had the injury, we kind of didn't get to see what like a playoff version of Giannis Dame would look like. It's an automatic buy, and I think now that this season was kind of wasted only on the aspect of both of these players are like aging. More so Damian Lillard. Giannis is still at the top of his superpowers, but I feel like they don't really have a lot of time to waste because Giannis has been on record being on this team about like trying to upgrade and we're trying to win now. So I think the pressure is on in Milwaukee next season. So even though I'm not all the way sold on Milwaukee, I'm gonna have to buy because I do trust Giannis and Dame.
Yeah, and these are two bona fide superstars. Like
Bonafide
this is like a duo that you want. A big and a guard. Like this is like the picture perfect, like what you would want for a team. So it's all about just getting the rest of that roster right and just kind of and then obviously injuries, you can't really control that. It's just it is what it is. But you can't sell on this. You can't sell on that.
Okay, let me ask you this. I know I done said it before, but like, how sick are they, bro, that they didn't get to keep Drew? Best
Oh my God.
best case scenario. I don't know how they go about doing it, but like, you don't think they explored all options, keeping Drew, but and acquiring Dame at the same time? Like,
I don't think they did. I think it was just they didn't really I don't even understand how you would let that happen. Like Drew should have never been off that team.
he's not tradable. If I'm in front office, he's not
Yeah,
tradable.
it makes no sense. Like I don't get it. I get it. That's Dame, but Drew should have been a non-negotiable. He should have been an off limits type of guy for what he does for that team. Like there's no way Drew Holiday would have been on the board. It would have been Chris Middleton, somebody else, but it wouldn't have been Dame. The masses, he could have went like I would have just had Giannis on the roster unhappy, but ain't no way I'm letting Drew out the door. No
I know
way.
you happy. I know Corey is happy because it's like
Oh, of course.
when we get somebody, and I love people know me. I love Drew Holiday. I saw he was going to Boston. I was just like, bro, Like that's not right. Like, bro, how y'all let this happen? Like, this is a player with all like championship DNA, all the intangibles, all especially on the defensive end, all the traits that you want to play. He's like a pros pro. Like he's just. I'm on record for saying this. He's the most underrated player of our generation, and I would die on that hill. That's just where I'm at with it. But back to Giannis, and even though it's an automatic buy. Kawhi.
Man,
It's so okay. So I feel like Kawhi, he kind of could get a pass on this list only because he's been to the finals 3 times. He's won 2. He also has 2 finals MVPs. So it's like Kawhi, I feel like he'll get a pass, even though like people like Stephen A. Smith is very hard on him because in his mind he doesn't deny the talent, it's just the availability. I feel like Kawhi is the type of person, if he's not 98% or 99%, the chances of you seeing him is probably not likely. And I'm not on record for saying that. That's just the evidence that I have to go off of. It's like if he's not willing to go, he's just not gonna go.
Yeah. For me, so I lived in San Antonio for like 5 years. So I was there for Kawhi's prime before he got dealt to Toronto. So I kind of knew a little bit of the injury he was dealing with like the knee tendinopathy shit. And that injury, that is a legit injury. Like it doesn't get any better, it only gets worse. So I understand that. And I've been the biggest Kawhi apologist for years. I had Kawhi as the best player in the league at one point. And right now, though, I have to sell on Kawhi because at the end of the day, like the best ability is availability. You're never available, especially when it comes to the playoffs. You're never available. And then now, if we look at what's happening with that roster now, it's like it's almost not getting blown up, but you're losing Paul George, who you specifically wanted Paul George to be there with you. Now you're losing that guy. And then it's just I feel like all the critique that he has coming towards him is warranted because it's just like it doesn't like you could if I'm Steve Ballmer for that team and you miss the playoffs and then I see you going to play for the Olympics, I'm not even letting you play on that Olympic team. There's no way. The injuries you've been dealing with and you not being available, but then all of a sudden you're gonna spend your summer when it should be you resting, you playing in the Olympics. There's no way in hell I would be letting you play. And I love Kawhi Leonard, but I'm selling on him. I don't think that team. I think they missed their window now. You're losing Rush, you're losing Paul, you bring in Kevin Porter. It's just like, and I think you have to blame it on Kawhi because Kawhi, we never got to see their full potential because he's not available. And so at the end of the day, I don't care how many New Balance commercials you got. I don't care about none of that. Like you got to be on the court because when you on the court, you undeniable. Like you are a top 7 to 8 player maybe in the league. Like as far as the best two-way player goes, like all that. But you got to be there, and he's just never there. So at some point, you got to call a spade, and I got to sell on Kawhi. I got to.
I want to go back on something I said respectfully because he did try to make a go in the playoffs. He played like 2 games against the my Mavericks. So respect to you for that. He was trying to find his rhythm. It was kind of rough. He kind of took the offense, kind of put him out of sorts a little bit because he was trying to kind of play isolation to kind of get back into himself. Respect to him, because he tried. But I'm gonna have to kind of go along with you. I'm gonna have to sell my house, man. I'm gonna have to get the ball off the market, man. Because the thing about it is, next year, bro, this could kind of get ugly. It could really get kind of ugly because worst case scenario, James Harden is just out there by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it could be him. James Harden could be bringing the ball down the court. He got Ibaka, Zubac in the paint, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, like Kawhi he might be in street clothes, he might be in a New Balance jumper. You know what I'm saying? Like it could get bad. So I don't know. I feel like you really kind of hit every point with Kawhi Leonard. I feel like at this point he'll go down as a 2-time NBA champion, 2-time MVP. But it's like I don't know if he'll ever be healthy again in his career. And he's not. What is he? 33. He's not too old. But like this is kind of like you kind of transitioning to like the back end of your prime, and we really haven't seen anything as of late over the past few seasons. It's kind of like he'll play, he'll look undeniable. He'll go down with injury. He may or may not come back because they'll be in the playoffs. They're good enough to make the playoffs. But when it's time, he's absent.
And it pains me to say that because, like I said, I understand the injury he has. I know that shit is not easy to deal with. But I have to deal with what's happening. I can't give you A for effort. I get it. I give you an A for effort, but results are the results, and you not being on the court is detrimental to your squad. And you missed like that Clippers team. They had some teams that were like, even this season, they had a team like December, January. They had won like they had crazy win streaks. That team was rolling, and it's just you derailing it. You getting hurt, and it's just
What they had like
derailing your
number
chance.
2 seed or 1 seed? That sounds
Yes,
like us.
they
It was a very small window, but like they got it though for like
from December, like from like I want to say like maybe late November all the way through January. They were the best. They were arguably the best team in the league outside of the Celtics. Like they were rolling. Like James Harden just came in. They were cooking, and then it's just the injuries. Like it just, it's on Kawhi. Like I can't give him no more passes. It's an easy sell for me. Like you gotta. That's it. That's an easy sell.
that team goes as he goes, and it's not even close. Like I love Paul George, James Harden is dope, but I feel like when they all at the top of their powers, it's like Kawhi is just James Harden is known to put up historic numbers, but Kawhi is just that elite two-way that we'll ever see, and it sucks. But last but not least, Joel Embiid. I'm gonna be honest, I might have to sell. I know that sounds kind of crazy. The thing is, I don't know when Joel is going to have that Dirk Nowitzki-esque type of playoff run when Dirk was kind of just running through Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, because I feel like when you transition into like your early to mid 30s, we could kind of like have reality can kind of set in, because for all we know, people had already wrote Dirk off before the 2011 playoffs, because it was like, okay, you make the playoffs, you lose to the Spurs, you make it, you up 2-0 against the Heat, they come back. You make it again, you lose to Golden State next year in the first round. So it's like maybe Dirk is what he is until he changed the whole narrative completely in one playoff run. Joel Embiid can do that, but will he do that? I don't know. He has horrible luck against you. He cannot beat the Celtics for nothing. He could barely get out the second round. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know what to do with Joel at this point. The talent is undeniable, but I just don't know when is he going to give me that historic playoff run. Shout out to one of my co-hosts, B.A. Mill. He's on record for saying he want him to lose a few pounds. You know, he just feel like his condition. I've even heard like Gilbert Arenas. I believe he even said something about his condition. It just may not be up to par for what he's required to do.
Well, see, Embiid that's a 50-50 one.
Man, you can hold it. I sell a hold. I forgot to put a hold. You can't hold as an option.
I'm gonna have to hold on Embiid, and here's why. So obviously this season, like the way he started the season, he was the runaway MVP. He was on historic pace. He was doing things we haven't seen since Wilt. Like he was going absolutely crazy. But then story of his career has been the injury, similar to Kawhi. Like we know Embiid missed the first 2 seasons of his NBA career with the foot injuries, whatever. And so it's tough for him to see the court. He finally get on the court, and we're still seeing it. Obviously with a big guy, it's gonna happen with the big man. They got the knee injuries, the feet injuries. But this season specifically, and I guess the reason why I'm not even gonna say hold, the reason I'll buy on Embiid, I'll give the roster a little bit of the blame. Like outside of Maxey, really nobody on that roster showed up. Like Tobias Harris has been MIA for maybe 3 seasons now. I don't know where he's at. And you paid him at the time. They paid him max money, so
$180.
He's been MIA. Maxey is a young guy, so I can't expect him to come out there and just like carry, especially when you're without your big man.
As good as he is,
he's good, which he's great. So I expect good things for him this coming season. But like who else on that roster really gave you anything? You know what I'm saying?
Kelly Oubre really wasn't.
He was okay. He did a little bit of lifting, but like that roster is not really.
Kyle Lowry is pretty much past. He's past this prime. That's pretty much a wrap.
Exactly. So and then Embiid came back during the playoffs, and he gave you what he could. And he was still pretty decent in the playoffs against that Knicks team. That was a great. That's probably one of the better series of the 2024 playoffs. That was a great series, but obviously they fell short. So, but just for what he did and that pace he was on, that MVP historic pace he was on when he was available, and then still coming back and finishing and playing through the playoffs, even though obviously you see he wasn't 100%. That's the reason I'm gonna buy on him. I won't even say hold. I'm gonna buy on Embiid, just because I do think with this offseason and what they can do, they'll be able to alleviate some of the pressure off of him. I think Max is gonna take that step up and still be like that. He might be able to average 23 to 25. Obviously, you bring in a third option. It's looking like a Paul George. That helps out a lot on both ends of the floor. So I'm a buy on Embiid just because I do feel like even though I don't think he's ever been out of the second round. I don't think I'm mistaken on that. I don't think he's ever been past the second round. Obviously, he had that heartbreak with Toronto with the Kawhi shot that would have put them in the finals, Eastern Conference Finals. But
They had the heartbreak
um,
against the Hawks in the second round too.
yeah,
That was the moment Ben Simmons' career kind of was never the same.
yeah. So I mean, Embiid is he's had to deal with a lot of roster turnover and kind of like unpredictability, and then obviously Doc exiting, the whole process going. But I'm not gonna sell on Embiid. I'm gonna buy Embiid. Like I said, fingers crossed he comes in healthy and be able to really see what they can do with a good third option. Because Tobias can't say enough about what he did these past couple seasons. Is he still on the roster? Like, what is going on? I don't know, but
Tobias,
I hope he's gone.
Tobias,
Yeah, Tobias.
I think he's a free agent. He should be a free agent now. Yeah.
Okay, so good riddance. But yeah, I want to see what they do. Paul George, Maxey, Embiid. I like that, so I'm buying Embiid for sure. Yeah, and plus he's a big man. You don't really get too many big men that can score like that. They come a dime a dozen, so you can't just sell on that.
Let me ask you this: in 2 years, this is just before we dip. We're gonna play a little fantasy hypothetical, whatever. 2 years, is Embiid still in the 76ers uniform?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. If I was ever to say he wouldn't be in the Sixers uniform, it would happen this season. Is what I will say. It would happen this season. But I'm gonna say yes, he will be in the Sixers uniform.
I was gonna say a year, but see, this is the thing. If they land Paul George, because I feel like me and you are higher on Paul George because it's just for the reasons of fit.
Mhm.
I feel like at this stage of Paul George's career, it's an excellent third option. I feel like he might be less injury prone due to like the less responsibility that he could have. Because when Embiid is playing at the top of his powers, he's very dominant.
Yeah.
But if they do land Paul George, I don't really know what the ceiling is because I still don't think they could beat Boston.
No,
Especially
I
with
don't think so.
like a healthy Kristaps, I don't think they could beat Boston. I'm just being honest. Kristaps is not there. They may have more of a puncher's chance, but I still don't know because I feel like that championship continuity is now like it's gonna start to set in, especially with some Olympic experience. Tatum
Yeah.
and Brown are playing, right?
No, Brown's not on the team. Tatum's on the
Okay,
team.
okay, for
Brown's
sure.
not.
But yeah, I don't know this thing, and not for nothing though. We can't forget the health issues too, because like with big man, these things don't really get a lot better.
Yeah.
And this year, he missed a nice portion of the season. To be honest, they would actually have some great playoff seeding before he missed the time too. They fell out of home court and everything.
Yeah, they would have been a 2 or 3 seed if he wouldn't have got hurt. But also the reason why I'm gonna say he's gonna stay in that jersey is because I think he realizes that the team is putting in effort to give him help. Like obviously, Maxey developing and becoming the player he is, hiring Nick Nurse, who's a great coach, and you have like this, like I said, that start he got off of with Nick Nurse as his coach was legendary. Like he was doing some things like we haven't seen in the league in a long time. So I think that's a kind of a plus for him. Then like this offseason with them having a little bit of money, if you get Paul George and one other player over there, you see like, okay, they're making effort despite me being injury prone and this and that. This team is still making effort at getting better. So I can't blame the franchise. If anything, I have to blame myself. So I think in that situation, you can't leave that franchise knowing that you really were. I mean, outside of Tobias, you were the reason why you may not have reached the heights that you want to reach. So
Right.
I think in that situation, you have to kind of give the franchise a pass and you got to stick it out. So, and I don't think they want to move on from him because that's a generational player. And
You can't. He would have to ask out. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And I don't see him asking out. So I think they good.
That was buy or sell. Sideline Story Edition. I appreciate you, Kay. So man, appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. To the next
All right.
one.
To the next one. Y'all have a blessed night. Peace.